is Yadeyontan Caras. I'm originally from Columbia, Maryland. I've been in Israel for the past 8 years. I've been designing software for gesture-oriented devices for 3 years now, which is more or less since the market started. What is a gesture-oriented device? It's a smartphone and it's also a tablet. Now, as smartphones get bigger and as tablets shrink, the lines between these two devices are becoming less and less clear, but this lecture is going to focus primarily on the iPad. Okay? Now, in 2005, the laptop outsold desktop computers. And this was a huge breakthrough. The price point that laptops hit and the exposure that laptops hit meant that pretty much every freshman in college came with a laptop. That pretty much every middle school child, when it came to the holiday season, wanted a laptop. But this lecture doesn't come to praise laptops, rather it comes to bury them. The device that needs to be at the forefront of all of our thought as software designers and web developers, and especially with the most popular web platform, WordPress, is the tablet. The tablet is a completely different user experience than a person's desktop computer or a person's mobile device. A tablet is not a smartphone, and this is a mistake that in a professional setting I've seen companies make over and over again. That there's a lot of focus that's put onto how do I make my website mobile? How do I make my WordPress mobile? And the hole that I've seen that many companies let slip through is what type of user experience are we creating when we take away the mouse and keyboard? When you take away the mouse and keyboard and you put it into a tablet, you interact with the device differently. You use the device differently. So I see here I started with welcome web developers to your future. Okay, so now how popular is this device? I know that we've all seen it before. Right? How many people out in the audience actually have one of these devices? Come on, hands up. Okay. How many of you would say that you use it every day? How about in the bathroom? Yeah, see, there we go. We have hands. This is a device that enters places that regular computers don't go. And it gives you a closer, a much more intimate user experience than a mobile phone does. What's the problem with most mobile websites? Is that the branding is almost entirely stripped away. If you look at most of your mobile websites, you get these cookie cutter solutions. It's pretty much all the same thing, especially in the WordPress world. You know, there's some great plugins out there, but what do the plugins give you? They give you almost no customizability. They give you that pretty much every website that has WP Touch installed on it is going to look and feel exactly the same. And we put so much money and so much effort into making our sites look unique and having a unique user experience that it's almost a shame to take that huge 10-inch screen and then just break it up into a series of titles that you click on the title in a round rec box, maybe with a little bit of shading and maybe your company logo at the top. You're totally ripping out all of the work that you put into creating a branding, emotionally connecting with your user, creating a unique user experience, and you destroy that because you wanted to invest into a simple plugin that would just turn your site mobile. So okay, again, how popular are these? This was the fastest consumer device to achieve $1 billion in sale. Now that's huge. So not only that, but once a person gets the iPad, it affects their life. It affects how they use the internet. I know personally, I no longer check my personal email from the computer. I check it from my tablet. And I check it throughout the day because I get that little ding. It's always just sitting there right by me. It comes into bed. It comes into the couch. It goes when I go onto a trip. I'm using it when I'm on a train. I'm using it when I'm on the plane. This is a device that stays with you. It has been stated that iPad users have a 35% decrease in the time that they spent browsing the web on a desktop computer. That's a third of their time. That's a third of the time that you had an opportunity to reach out and connect with them. Now is no longer happening with a keyboard and mouse on a laptop or on a desktop, but is rather happening on an iPad. But yet still, some of you out there haven't even checked your site on a tablet. You have no idea what your website looks like on a tablet. Does anybody want to admit that they haven't actually checked the most recent theme that they installed on an iPad? There we go, I have some hands. There you go, so shame on you guys. This is an intervention. Most of you guys are along with the ride already. You're on the bandwagon. But some of you are the stragglers out there, and really what the point of this lecture is here is to really have a heart-to-heart with these stragglers. So why is the iPad so popular? Because it's fun. because it doesn't have all of the overhead that's involved with the computer. It has that instant on and instant off. It weighs almost nothing on your back. You don't even notice it. You don't even notice when you bring it. And as great as laptops are nowadays, they still are cumbersome. It's still much nicer to sit down at a coffee shop, even on the couch at a coffee shop, and to pull out your tablet and to browse to browse on Facebook, to follow Twitter, to read your RSS feeds. To do all of that from a tablet is a greater user experience than it is on a tablet, or than it is on a laptop, and that's why the tablets are going to win, because they're more fun. And the iPad appeals to everybody. Look who we have here. We've got the college students that are using it to plan out some kind of presentation. We've got your grandma, who now is finally able to use Skype because she's got the big fat Skype button on her iPad 2 with the camera on the front of it. For the businessman, he can bring his presentation. He can show it off in the boardroom. Even the awkward emo high school kid still likes the iPad. Everybody likes this. And the parents love it. And even the little kids love it. My daughter was raised on an iPad, and it amazes me what she can do. She knows when folders came out, she picked up the iPad, she played around with it, she was like, where are my apps? Where are my kids' apps? She loves Dora the Explorer. Disney has some great apps. She's learned to count through 1 through 20. She's learned the alphabet all from this tablet device. And the ability for her to learn on it just amazes me. When I took all of her apps and I put it into folders, she found that folder and now she instantly knows. She can unlock it, she can swipe through it. Does any of you else have any experience with toddlers and the iPad? Yeah, so I'm sure if you have, you've seen the impressive...
My brother has special needs. He can also is able to use the iPad much better than any sort of computer solution in the past.
That's another perfect example of the ease of use. The ease of use is what's going to dethrone the laptop. Okay, now, not only that, but iPad users play harder. Now, what does that mean that they play harder? That you can approach an iPad user through digital means and connect with them more intimately. And now this is something that is unique to the touch experience. We as software developers have a struggle. That we struggle to create something that has an essence of existence to it. We work in a digital medium. We don't produce something up until now that a user could really hold in their hand, that they could take with them. And as portability increases, now we have something that you can say, I have Facebook. Facebook is something that I hold in my hands. And it's not a watered down user experience like on a mobile, like on your phone. On your phone, it is great. People complain, oh, I can't like comments that people liked on the Facebook app. And there's other watered down features. But when you get the 10-inch screen and you get a 12-hour battery, you create a user experience that somebody owns. They own your software, and your software is something that becomes a part of them. So, okay, iPad users play harder and longer. So let's look at some of these numbers. Now, for content distributors, which a lot of us are, or a lot of our clients are content distributors, we're working in WordPress, and the reason we're working in WordPress is because we recognize that content is king. And we recognize that the most important thing is to be able to get our message across in an easy and positive user experience. And this is right along lines with magazine publishers. Magazine publishers are somewhat threatened by bloggers. And so you see here that the statistics, GQ users on their website would have an average of 3.8 minutes per user experience. Okay, Vanity Fair would have 2.1 minutes per user experience. Now, both of them took a lot of time and effort to invest in making a good user experience for tablet devices, specifically the iPad, and they were blown away by the results. Okay, with the same exact content, they were able to get over 60 minutes of online browsing out of the exact same users. This is incredibly significant. We have the ability, because we have the ability of the portability, and because we don't have to sacrifice anything in making compromises for lack of real estate, we can create an experience that will keep bringing people back, not only more often, but for longer periods of time. Okay? I'm sure you guys have all heard of Wired Magazine. So Scott Dadich of Wired Magazine He was quoted as saying, "We are looking to prove engagement in terms of hours, not minutes. This is a staggering increase in viewing time and a major shift in online habits." Now, this is something that it's a little bit difficult for anyone who doesn't own or hasn't used, at least for, I'd say, 4 to 6 months, a tablet device. But it really does change your online habits. It really does change the user experience of interacting with your favorite websites. And there are a couple different ways to go about this. Okay? Now, you might, actually, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Sorry about that. Okay, so what about the tablet wars? I've been speaking about the iPad almost exclusively in this lecture. What about the other devices? Don't other companies make tablets? So yes and no. The answer is yes, they do, but the current way that the market is moving, it's very important to be on the iPad and secondary to be other places. For example, for every 9 iPads that are sold, 1 not iPad is sold. So that means all of the other companies that are competing. Asus has a tablet. I think Dell, Samsung, HP just recently put up the white flag and dropped their tablet. It's amazing how successful Apple was with this, how they single-handedly created a whole new market. And they succeeded at it. And obviously, a couple years from now, it's not going to be 9 to 1, but it's still a significant number that if you're going to put time and effort into creating a positive user experience on one device, this should be the device that you're focusing on. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what are our options. So, okay, I'm hoping that from everything that I said, I've opened up your eyes if you haven't already been paying attention to this device. So what options do you have? Well, number one, you can do nothing. Okay, that's not such a bad decision. Just the only thing that you should be doing from a coding perspective, you might need to do nothing. Because this is running a full-fledged web browser, because it's got a 10-inch screen, a lot of our websites are just going to run perfectly, just out of the box. Now you might say to yourself, well, what about an app? I mean, aren't you an app developer? I'm an app developer. So shouldn't I be hawking, custom-made apps or app templates? I mean, there are advantages and disadvantages to it. One of the things that I found is that if you don't really have a good secret weapon in your app, if your app doesn't do something that adds significant resources or significant increase in usability or even shtick to your user, then it might just be a waste of your resources to actually invest in to build an app. Every app needs to come with a secret weapon. And you focus, what is my secret weapon? And then from there you can decide whether or not you need an app. Now, a secret weapon could be for example, Amazon. Amazon has a great app where they allow you to browse their books as if it was a bookstore. You get to see the shelves, and you get to do this little virtual tour as if it was like a Barnes & Nobles or Borders. So that increase in user experience would be very difficult to repeat on the web. And also, it caters really well. They really take advantage of the multi-touch, of being able to pinch, and being able to slide and zoom. So just even the shtick, it doesn't offer you anything more in terms of you could buy that book on their website or you could buy that book on their app. But the user experience is much more engaging, and the power of the cross-sell between one product and another product. When you're looking at the shelf right there and you see everything side by side, they really created a powerful user experience. So now you could say, well, I'm not happy with how my site is. I'm not happy with how it looks on the iPad. Okay, so what can I do? So luckily, WordPress is a huge community. There are a ton of resources out there. Some of them are free. Some of them are paid. Some of them involve various distribution channels like the App Store. Some of them involve just bookmarking and favoriting your site. And so I guess here really we get to two different schools of thought. Do I want to be where my user goes every day? Meaning, should my user go to a central location on their device every day, and my content is part of that central location? Or do I want to motivate the user to go off of the beaten track to specifically my content? So those are two different tactics, and depending upon what your particular business model is, you'll have to make the choice on your own. Now, the first thing that I do when I check my iPad in the morning is I check my email. Second thing I do is I open up an app called Flipboard. Are any of you familiar with Flipboard? Flipboard is a phenomenal app. Are you guys fans of Flipboard that use it? I'm getting head nods. Basically what it is it turns any website, it's a free app that you download, and you add your content to it. The user adds their content to it, and us as content providers can motivate the users to make us a part of their Flipbook or other various RSS or news aggregated service experience. That we could say, hey, check out our Flipbook feed. Reddit did a really good job at this. Reddit has a particular feed for Flipbook, and it focuses on the best user experience, both for Reddit and the iPad and this particular aggregator, Flipboard. So I'm going to let them speak for themselves.
Your Flipboard is your personal brand.
I don't know if you can hear this.
It always has content you care about. And it knows what you care about because it knows who your friends are. This is all stuff my Twitter friends are linking to. Articles and images they think I should see. Your Flipboard connects to your social networks and gathers all the good stuff your friends are sharing. Any type of content your friends can share. Articles, images, photo albums, and video. They all come to you. And you can always handpick from Flipboard's own collections, from some of the most interesting sources on the web. I know I can always find something good in Flip Tech, for instance. And your Flipboard updates when your friends do, so you're never at a loss for something to look at.
So I'll move on to the next one here. That basically what they provide is a very powerful user experience that requires no change from us, the content distributors. We get our users to add ourselves to add our feeds to these kind of content, and now we don't need to worry about whether or not our users are leaving their warm little bubble to come out and find our new information, because this information is being centralized and it's being distributed to their main hub every single day. So that's one line of thinking. The other line of thinking is through the example of plugins. Plugins, or the example of building an app for yourself. So there's another company that produces something that it's a plugin that you put onto your WordPress site. It originally came with WordPress.com, but you can also add it as your own plugin with WordPress.org, which I believe most of us are. And we'll play a little bit of this.
Extremely easy for a publisher of any size to provide an app-like experience for the tablet and mobile versions of their website. OnSwipe brings the fluid, dynamic experience that users enjoy and expect from a native app to the browser. OnSwipe can not only draw content from CMSs, but also social feeds like Instagram and YouTube video. Reading articles is just like reading a magazine. Just swipe from page to page. In between articles, beautiful full-range print-like advertising is presented with interactive features like geolocation, social sharing, and video.
So we're a little bit short on time, so I'm going to move on and make sure that we get to finish everything and maybe ask a question or two. So what's the main thing? The other option is, let's say you don't want to go for something cookie cutter because you want to be able to maintain that important branding and that important look and feel that you work so hard to get. So here's some minimal things that you have to worry about. Focus on the dual orientation of these devices. With a laptop, nobody is turning their laptop on the side and looking at it in a portrait mode. Everybody is looking at it in a landscape mode, and we as designers take advantage of that and kind of are spoiled by that. When it comes to dual orientation, you really have to focus, is everything flexible? Does everything resize itself? Do the things that should be hidden in one orientation, are they visible in the second orientation? For example, you could have this. I think this illustration paints a very easy to understand picture. That it wouldn't make sense to just stretch the yellow or orange or whatever color box this is, the full width, and then stretch the three smaller boxes. So a new layout with CSS, which is actually really easy to implement, and I'm sure all of you are power Googlers, so it's not really worth it for us to get into the technical aspect of this. Through CSS and through JavaScript, we can find out what the orientation of our user is, and we can present them with a different layout. This is a must if you want to communicate to your user that this site was designed to be used on an iPad. Okay, there's also lots of jQuery stuff. If you're a little bit more ambitious, you can go and try and hack apart this Slablet, which is not actually part of, it doesn't have anything to do with WordPress. But if you just want to see some code that you could incorporate into your own themes, this is a good place to start. Okay, so now we'll get into some of the other design elements. Okay, number one, the size of the finger is much bigger than a mouse. You got to make sure that the things that you want to click are clickable. Okay? And that the things that you want to click are separated enough that they have enough padding that you don't accidentally click the wrong button. It's the most annoying thing, especially with a lot of the lag times, to find out that you just waited like 20 seconds for the wrong page to load. Okay? And there is no hover. We can communicate with a mouse and keyboard by telling the user what's going to happen when they click this. They bring their mouse over the menu, maybe the menu drops down, maybe a little box appears and it says, here's what's going to happen. With a touch-based device, there is no conditional information like that. They either clicked on it or they didn't click on it. And not only that, but they know that they clicked on it because they hear the little t-t of the mouse. When you hear a t-t, you know that you communicated something to the computer. On a tablet, you have to make sure that there's some visual, that there's some either auditory or visual response when you touch on a button, so that the user knows that that you received their information, so they don't sit there pounding on the glass. Okay, and of course, there's no flash. I mean, it's been 3 years now. You guys should know this already. There's no flash. That every like 6 weeks I read an article like, oh, we got Flash on iOS now because some guy did something. There's no Flash. Just move on. It's okay. We'll be all right. And not only is there no Flash, but there's no flashiness. Some things that I found that'll ruin a user's experience on an iPad is too much shtick in terms of JavaScript. If you've got all this JavaScript going on and stuff's flying and you've got marquees and pop-ups and GIFs and music that's hard to have the music stop because you can't find the button. You've got all this kind of shtick from like antiquated websites. Just make sure that it works on the iPad, and if it doesn't, have a different theme. It's really easy to set up a different theme based on your user agent, so do it, because you don't want to lose people as they spend more and more time on their tablet. So I am Yedeyontan Caras, founder of App Studio. I'm a software designer. I focus on gesture-oriented devices. If you have any questions, I don't know how much time we have left. No time left. 1 minute. Okay. So if you have any questions, find me out there, or you can check us out on our website, appstudio.co.il, or you can give me a call, and I'd be more than willing to chat with you. All right. That's my presentation.